I have my voice. We'd like to begin by acknowledging the land on which we gather today is the land traditionally used by the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Chinook people. We acknowledge the enduring presence and deep traditional knowledge and philosophies of the indigenous peoples with whom we share this land today. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest in accordance with Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? Seeing none. We're not going to do minutes. Receiving petitions. We're just going to move right in. I need a motion that council rise and go into the committee of the whole to receive reports and recommendation. Moved by Councillor Seven, second by Councillor Wagner. All in favor? And that's carried. We'll move right to planning and development. Councillor Brick. Presentation.
So staff presentation of the draft official plan, Director of Development and Services Tim Manchuti and Joe W. Planning. Do I need a motion for that? Yeah. A motion for that effect. Favor, Councillor Wagner, second, Councillor Seven. All in favor.
Starting to act like me now.
Yeah, carried. Tim, will take the lead on that.
Sure. Thanks, Councillor Brick. So tonight we're excited to present to you the first draft of the new official plan, and it's just an information night tonight. Mostly we'll be presenting very high level to you on some of the key themes, some of the work that we've been doing, a bit of our engagement timeline over the spring, and some next steps. The bulk of the presentation will be done by Joe Nethery, who's the lead consultant of our project team. And I wanted to thank Joe for the heavy lift to get here. It's been a pleasure working with Nethery Planning. I think we work well, staff and the project team. And certainly it's not over, but it's what I like to say, it's the end of the beginning, I guess, so to speak. So I'm going to turn it over to Joe, who has a presentation prepared, and we'll take it from there. Joe.
Terrific. Excuse me, sir. Thank you very much, Tim, and for the kind words as well. What makes a project so much fun and joyful to be a part of is being able to work with great people and coming up with really nice solutions to to help shape planning over the future in a place like Wellesley. Obviously, not every recommendation is going to make everybody happy. We can't satisfy all requests and all tasks that are being made, but we are definitely doing our best to consider all inputs in making the recommendations that we will be making in the coming months to you. So to get a little closer back to script as well, yes, the end of the beginning I think is a very apt description. I even have a slide to that effect where we've advanced our project calendar just that little bit forward with this milestone today. It marks the public release of the draft new official plan for the Township of Wellesley. You'll be hearing, and we will talk. I'll be talking a little bit about the engagement plan that we will be undertaking over the next couple of months, where people will be hearing a very simpler version of this message many times as we get ready to gather more input and come back before you for a statutory public meeting in about 3 months' time.
So just confirming, is your microphone turned on?
Allegedly, yes. Feedback.
Green dot.
Yes, I've got a good green dot. Excellent. So per my rough agenda to you, I'll talk about the project timeline. We'll do our, contrary to what I said to you, Mr. Mayor, prior to starting this presentation, I guess I am doing a digital page turn within the text of the official plan itself. We'll go through our specific engagement plan for phase 3 and 4 on this project, and then our actual specific next steps going forward. That I will note for you, in addition to our viewers at home, that you do have paper copies of the draft official plan now in front of you. The pink pages are just interim dividers to try and break up the sections a little bit more. All of this information that I'll be talking about will be posted on the project's engagement webpage in the coming days as we complete our accessibility work. So our overall project timeline, you would have seen a version of this graphic when I was last here in the fall. We are now beginning our third phase of project work. The draft policies and the land use maps have been created. Again, they will be publicly available in the coming days as well. We're here tonight specifically on the draft official plan workshop in a public meeting format. We will then be out in the public for our formal engagement work. Our project team will produce a summary product. I mixed up my words, an engagement summary report that details and summarizes all the information that we're going to be getting from the public in the coming months and what information we have received to date. This phase of work closes with the usual statutory obligations for a project like this, a statutory public open house, and the statutory public meeting, much like those that you've had before you on other planning matters. You also get to do one for a project like this as well too. So in terms of our content and the structure that it's in, that we believe we've achieved our project objectives of consolidating in the necessary policies from the regional official plan. There would be one official plan document going forward, of course, if council chooses to adopt this document and our recommendations that will accompany it. It recognizes, it builds in the new 2024 provincial planning statement. It is built to the draft provincial standardized structure for official plan documents. So we've been working towards that draft target that was released for consultation back in the fall. And if you follow legislation as closely as the director and the senior planner and I do, you'll know that is now built into proposed legislation that would be passed at Queen's Park this spring. So you are future-proofed and future-ready for that change in provincial legislation. And we, of course, have done our updates and around existing policies. We have developed new policies in those areas that we as a project team feel are appropriate, that staff have been given us feedback on throughout this project. And of course, what we've been hearing from you in our conversations so far as well. This covers all land and all aspects with respect to the wise use of land as a resource in the township. So consequently, it is a relatively big and hefty document. We have it built into 11 individual parts themselves, from the basic setup on how to use this document, some help on some of those interpretive language rather that we use in the document. And I'm just going to pause to say it looks like Emily has joined us now, if possible. And then we get into the meat and potatoes of the policies themselves, including your overall township structure and framework. Where is the countryside? What are urban areas? What are rural settlement areas? And then subdividing up those parcels into land use designations with appropriate policies for each of them, as well as individual use policies themselves as well. We, of course, have a good and hefty implementation section at the back, as well as a number of site-specific policies, which are relatively new and novel in Wellesley Township, fairly common elsewhere, but and will be a little more common as you read through this draft text itself. So some of those key, having just done that high-level walkthrough, are the main chapters. If you're looking to focus your reading, of course, I think every page is important and valuable. It would be chapters 4, 5, 6, 9, and 11, where there's a particular level of importance here. Chapter 9 is pretty long because the province in its current wisdom has consolidated a lot of environmental and agricultural policies into one heading itself. And we're obviously going to continue working through any of those changes as the province may do them throughout the spring. Okay. So one of the first major issue areas, I think the major issue area rather, that our team was asked to focus on were land needs and overall growth management itself. This is something every municipality in Ontario has to go through. These questions are a little bit different, of course, if you are in Toronto in the 416 than you are in Wellesley, but the general purpose and intent is the same. there is an expectation built into provincial law and policy that municipalities will plan to meet for certain minimum targets with respect to long-term growth. There are now two different weightings, all the weightings in Ontario, how that applies. So basically, there's a different set of expectations if you're in Waterloo or in Kitchener or in Cambridge than you are in a Wellesley Township. So it's a very low minimum threshold that needs to be met. It's about ensuring that there's a population target that's provided, an employment target that is provided, and that there's appropriate land that's being allocated to achieve those. So there is a detailed report that will be posted online, a detailed letter report along with summary tables and information that will be posted on the project website. Council, it is in your binders now. That basically summarizes this process that we have gone through with staff over the past few months. What we're basically identifying is that there's about 50 hectares, sorry, I operate in metric, of designated land already within settlement area boundaries in the township. But there is additional land that is needed in order to fill that. So based on current levels of development today, what we are telling you as a project team is that there's a need for about 24.5 hectares of land at various densities to meet the residential target to 2051 based on current development levels. For employment lands, it's a little bit different. About 80 hectares of land at a lower jobs target, typical of a rural area or drier uses, maybe a term that you've heard in the past as well. Industrial uses that can operate on well and septic, basically. Generally speaking, they are larger and have larger open yard uses or characteristics rather to them. From an urban density, about 37 hectares of employment land that's needed. If you want higher density or more urban land, these are just imagine a series of levers that you're pushing and pulling. If we increase density in one area, we can decrease it someplace else. If we need lower densities elsewhere, well, we can take that from higher areas, but you will need more land to pull that off in order to meet the same number of targeted employees. So what we think we have struck here is a good balance of supplying and providing for both period. So to run back through that process, there were a number of requests that were already in as a part of prior to the project launching itself. There was the 2020, I hope I got that year correct, rationalization exercise that staff undertook and put in front of council for direction. We have looked, and a call out was made for anybody else who was looking to be considered at this time as well, which occurred in November. We undertook all of that information. We requested information that would support a planning rationale and justification under the relevant policies of the provincial planning statement in order to help us best make those evaluations. And anybody who obviously had supporting studies that were available to demonstrate this would be very helpful. So all those requests did come in a timely fashion in November. We spent November and December following up with individuals with immediate questions of clarification that were needed, and then doing that heavy lifting in December and January with a follow-up round of clarifications also in February. So in terms of a sum total result of this work, a couple were dropped out. We had 18 total evaluations that were needed. As a result on that, we did not need to create or undertake any publicly initiated or project team initiated evaluations. There was enough information in front of us to help make some of these decisions. Overall, 5 of the requests that were made were recommending as supportable. Some of those have some conditions tied to them in terms of we do need some additional work done by the proponents to justify their request. It's the onus on the proponent to do that rather than the township or the taxpayer in that sense. 7 more requests do require some more, and those 5, by the way, I should note, are reflected in the first draft official plan today. If those conditions do not get met, this might be something that we have to take out of a final draft itself. Meanwhile, there are another 7 requests where we are looking for some more information. This may be a conceptual design to show us what the development might look like, or an MDS calculation to demonstrate that we don't have an agricultural conflict. We have given those proponents a deadline of May the 1st in order to provide some of this information to us. If that information comes in and if it checks out from a professional planning perspective, those would be additions to come in as a part of preparing the final draft itself. We are left with 5 requests at the end of this that are technically that we're not going to see a path forward today for a planning justification to be made that would support this consistent with the provincial planning statement. Of those, a couple of them, 2 of them are employment related. 6 of the conditional ones are employment related. These tend to be a little bit on the smaller side, very localized, and tend to be rural requests as well. On the residential side, there were 4 requests. 3 of them generate additional housing yield. 1 of them is technical only. It would not create net new dwelling units. 1 additional request requires some more information in order to process this. So those proponents have letters back now, have correspondence back via the director advising them of those recommendations, and they're invited to participate through this process to provide more information or to file planning applications as well, as is their right under the Planning Act itself. There are and of course we have the unfair map, of course, because it's PowerPoint and Zoom and that's how it goes. We do have details of these maps in your agenda packages tonight, and the detailed maps identifying where those requests are will be posted to the project website as well. But you can see some of those ID numbers and leader lines just show you how small some of those requests are, and how there is one fairly big expansion that is technically being supported right now. And it is for employment lands in Southwest Wellesley, which has been supported through current township policy for some time. All of those lands that would be coming in, we would be calling them and looking to maintain as a recommendation one of those aspects that's in the regional official plan today and in the former provincial growth management framework itself. And it would be the concept of a designated growth area and a built up area. Hopefully those the designated growth area terminology is in provincial policy today, and it is trying to link up to that. So going through the text in reverse order on this side, we are looking to establish a density target. This goes above and beyond provincial planning requirements. It's consistent with township practices and regional practices before. The target being proposed is 50 residents and jobs combined per hectare. That's taken as a gross measurement overall, inclusive of community infrastructure and physical services that are needed as well. Those lands are going to have focused design guidelines in order to develop all those sorts of things that you'll hear all of us planners talk about: pedestrian-friendly, walkable spaces, a road network that integrates into the community, that doesn't, at the same time, doesn't increase traffic pressures or traffic strains in those areas, and overall works to developing complete communities where all sorts of facilities, all sorts of needs, depending on your scale, are provided within Wellesley Village proper itself. Absolutely.
Just wanted to add something to that. So what you're seeing up here on this slide, so a couple of the 2 key targets that you'll see there. So the intensification target, if we go all the way back, if you remember when the regional official plan amendment number 6 came through, and we were talking about this very same thing on what the region was proposing. When you look at the intensification target, that is identical. Okay, so that's an identical target that was in regional official plan number 6, which we endorsed at the time. So 14% of the units planned to 2051, or about 100 units. So about 100 units or so within that dark purple area, right? So which at the time we consider this to be also true today, is a reasonable target. It's not, you can think about some of the land area in there that hasn't been built out yet. And 100 units is fairly achievable, I think. So we wanted to make sure something was achievable there and carried forward through the regional plan, which we supported at the time. The second one, the density target. So the provincial planning statement doesn't require us, because we're not considered a fast growing municipality, to have a density target. It's encouraged. We think it's prudent from a planning perspective to have one. And to give you an idea of like what is 50 residents and jobs combined per hectare, like what does that mean? For example, the Strovest phase 1 subdivision, which we just approved whenever that was later last year, mid last year, that comes in at about 47 or 48 residents and jobs per hectare. Okay, so you're looking at something similar to that moving forward in the areas that are light purple or called designated growth area. So just to give you some perspective on what that kind of looks like based on things that you've seen before come before you. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you. I'm going to advance the slides to talk about employment lands. We are looking at we're proposing 2 designations in this draft plan. Pretty similar to what you have today, a general employment designation. Here's your factories, here's your contractors' yards, along with maintaining the light industrial commercial designation, which does support the inclusion of some retail as a part of this. The majority of that land, again, targeted for I'm going to call it Southwest Wellesley. Maybe I'll be corrected to West Wellesley at some point in this adventure together. Again, long signaled and intended for urban growth of some type. 2 rural employment settlement areas immediately abutting those lands itself. There is a clear demand and a need for additional employment lands in Wellesley Township. There's a natural synergy here that works out very well in this regard. And we are working on refining that recommendation to ensure that it does remain valid and wise from a good planning perspective. On those lands, similar to the other DGA comments I was making earlier, there would be specific development criteria that are applied to these employment lands as to come through and be evaluated as part of a future development application. So in this sort of a framework, the township would be reliant on the landowners coming forward with a development proposal. This is our opportunity collectively as a project team and a council to come together and define what that vision should look like and what the expectations would be when the application comes forward. And one of those key items will be the development of a master plan that shows the integration of the whole and how the development would work comprehensively across those sites. The point being is to make sure that one development doesn't preclude the ability to develop on the other side as well. And one other item I think I should note here as well, that current policies respecting trying to identify a potential for an arterial road that would ring that site. That is obviously something that we're looking to maintain as a part of this as well too. Here we go. From a general design perspective, we are again talking about, I'll introduce that term reintroduce that term complete communities. There is detailed design guidance, I believe in chapter 4, on what building design, what general layouts council would be, the township rather would be seeking, from low rise up to 3 stories, I believe, mid rise up to 6 stories, and high rise over 6-story development forms. You need the policies in order to understand and evaluate when something comes forward. For high-rise buildings, the proposal is that they aren't going to be permitted as of right by default in the township. It would require an official plan amendment in order to go taller than that, as there would be some physical services questions and community infrastructure questions, chiefly fire-related stuff that would need to be addressed as a part of that proposal, as a part of such a proposal. We also include, of course, typical land use compatibility processes, not just from one building next to another, but also from industrial or employment uses and noisy uses and smelly uses next to residential uses, consistent with provincial policy and provincial standards in these areas. We have a typical residential designation, as well as permitting a mix of uses in select central locations, such as the Wellesley urban core itself. We are proposing to maintain the regional target of 30% of home ownership being affordable to low and moderate income households, noting it's a difficult policy to implement in the absence of being involved in actual agreement monitoring or residential market monitoring services. This is something that can be requested at the development application stage And staff, of course, would assess what those proposals are and how they are proposed to be secured through that time. Specific policies, accessory residential units consistent with provincial policy, supportive housing in its full forms, additional needs housing, housing for an aging population, policies around condominium conversion, if there is any purpose-built rental, and getting ready in those sorts of questions coming forward, and policies around bed and breakfast as well, in and amongst a full suite of others. The township's Greenlands network system is also currently proposed. There's in-depth policy in the regional plan today and in the township's plan already. We're looking, of course, to maintain and carry forward those policies fully in supportive of the township's existing positions around protection, enhancement, and restoration of the natural heritage system where possible. So terms such as landscape level systems, core environmental features, environmental constraint areas, all in your current documents and all in this draft document as well too. Essentially carried forward in a current state. One item that we have learned in our early conversations with the province, which may be news to some, is that there is a potential karst corridor that exists through the township. A karst landscape is a limestone base that's sort of been worn out underneath a little bit because limestone has a porous rock. When water trickles through, it does sort of erode it away. That's how you end up with Niagara Falls as an example, and a very deep Niagara River gorge as an extreme example of this. There are risks in building in those areas. Obviously, nothing seems to have happened in the township as far as we know in this regard, but it is important when those hazards are known that the province does expect that information is communicated outward. Basically, what would happen if somebody is looking to do something there, something new from a development perspective, the township and staff would be looking for a particular geotechnical report that outlines what risk exists, if any. And if something comes up, what elements exist within that. Noting that corridor does already exist over the Wellesley Urban Village itself. This is something about new development, not necessarily about redevelopment or new things or existing things going forward. We, of course, have a full suite of agricultural and rural policies entirely consistent with the provincial policy, which makes a lot of the decisions already around what can happen in rural areas. We are looking at, of course, maintaining long-established, already fought over policies around rural employment areas, rural mixed-use and agricultural clusters, and rural institutional uses as well. That's a long-established precedent around here, and one that we will be discussing with the province in our further conversations with them as well. It maintains the identifier of the protected countryside, a key component in the plan today, and in the region's official plan as well too. We're obviously here as a consulting team and staff to ensure we're unlocking whatever we can to support agribusiness, agricultural tourism, on-farm diversified uses, and those full suite of operations, on the understanding that's a particularly important part of the economy of Wellesley Township, and far more unique an identifier than even in Wilmot to our south. So it's very important that we think we're providing appropriate flexibility in this draft to support those uses going forward, and we assume it's going to be one of many things that we will get public feedback on as we work through this over the next couple of months. There are some revisions being proposed around lot creation and adjustment and consent policies as well, that would provide for additional development flexibility in those contexts. I mentioned the site-specific policies earlier. You can make the argument there were none, or there were maybe two in the current official plan itself. As we have been going through this project and asking questions about this site or that site and making some of these decisions around settlement area boundary expansions, we have found a need and are recommending a benefit of including a few more site-specific policies. It's not usually how it goes on a project I'm involved in. But quite specifically, if there is something important about that particular property or that particular property, you do want to have the policy protections in place should a development proposal come forward. We all love getting rid of site-specific policies. It's one of my life's ambitions as a consulting land use planner. This is one where a few extras are probably very prudent and wise. And again, one of many things we expect to hear from the public in this regard as well too. So as you know, we are being guided by a comprehensive engagement plan and strategy that we've developed as a consulting team. We're using a variety of tactics of means to go out and hear from our key audiences on this project. Some of those are mandated through statute, others, everything else. We go above and beyond, and we use our creative toolbox and broadest range of options possible to let people know about this project and that we're looking to hear from them. We're here tonight on the bottom left corner on the council phase 3 kickoff. And of course, we welcome any feedback that you have for us tonight and assume that we're going to get more at our upcoming engagements as well too. I come back to our overall project calendar again here. Again, so we are releasing this draft tonight. Everybody is getting it now for a first time. I assume there's going to be a lot of deep reading, not just from you, but from members of the public as well, to understand what is going on. We will be working through this engagement process now that the weather is a little bit better, to gather some of these final impacts and begin. Now, Director Tim, who is hooking me up with something I was looking for. Thank you. I like my analogy of airline flight, and the captain is coming on and saying we're beginning our landing procedures, which is very much what we are doing at this stage of the project itself. I think I might zip back really quickly again. So we begin our public engagement events later this month with a first open meeting. We are required to host a statutory open house, just given, I won't bore you with the minutia. It's just one of those things on a project like this. That date is now set in May. We will be back in June for our statutory public meeting. Again, similar to any development application. Anybody with information to council, if they don't wish to submit it in writing, they want to talk to you directly, we will give them the microphone that night as well. But we do remain on target for our adoption in early July of this year. At which point the official plan will go off to the province through its London Ministry of Municipal Affairs London branch for its final approval. That a reminder from our earlier presentations, the region of Waterloo no longer has planning responsibilities. When it comes to major approvals like this, we deal now with the province directly. We had an initial workshop with them in December, and they currently have this document as part of their required provincial consultation window as well too. And whatever feedback we happen to get from them, we will obviously take it under advisement, and we'll let you know what changes are necessary or required as part of this. The project engagement webpage remains online, accessible through the QR code for anybody who may be watching and is looking to get to it right now. Wellesley Draft Official Plan through a simple internet search will get you there as well. Again, it will be getting updated hopefully later this week with all of this information comprehensively in one spot for anybody who might be looking for it. But I think that's enough talking from me. I turn it back to you, Mr. Chair. Unless Timmy want to go in and think.
Yeah, I would just add a couple things. Thanks, Joe, for that overview. The purpose of tonight is really just to provide a 30,000 foot overview, right? The idea is give you a copy. You can look through it, let it sit, let it simmer, jot your questions down. There's going to be multiple opportunities between now and the end of June, including one council workshop that we're going to schedule in May, where we can roll our sleeves up a little bit. And if you have more specific questions on policies, land areas that are being brought in or not being brought in, those types of things, or being recommended, I should say, to be brought in or not brought in, we can discuss those. But really it's to introduce it, to have you sit with it, to start flipping through it, be comfortable with it, note some things that you like, that you don't like, and then we'll reconvene together kind of in May. And then there'll be multiple public opportunities. In the report that you have tonight, we haven't, we're getting very close to confirming those dates. So we didn't put the exact date in there, but as soon as those are confirmed, they'll get in your calendar, they'll be in our calendar, they'll be on the website. And we've got a pretty significant mailing list that we send this out to as well. So obviously no decisions tonight. And just an opportunity for you guys to ask any initial questions to us, or none at all if you want to go away and read it on your own and then come back to us. That's okay too. But I wanted to thank Joe for that presentation, and I guess turn it over back to Councillor Burke.
Thank you, Joe and Tim, for that presentation. I'll turn it to the floor. Is there any questions
I'll let council.
Councilor Hargit?
I'm not sure I can read that. Is there an I'm assuming there's an electronic version or?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. Absolutely. I'll make sure you have it for the morning.
Thanks.
Yeah, just this question will probably be looked at, when you come back to do the council discussion, but the countryside line, I guess you're familiar with that. I don't know what that was. Can you give me some sort of sense of, with the boundary expansions that you're promoting here, what sort of increase in land use does that make in respect to the countryside line? Are we increasing? And I'm just trying to nail this down into, there's a ton of information here and it's zipping around in my head.
We're not expecting you to understand it all tonight either. We're introducing and letting it sit with you. I think with respect to the countryside line, like the protected countryside, those are very important pieces that we're going to carry forward for sure. Like, no question about that. I want to be very clear that the countryside line, the concept of the countryside line, the protected countryside, all those things, the environmentally sensitive landscapes, all those important pieces that were in the regional official plan that township council and staff have supported for a decade or more are remaining. In terms of where the bulk of the recommended urban area expansions are in Wellesley, I would say 95% of them are within the countryside line. So what you're looking at are within it, right? So lands that have already been in our plan that we have now, if you go in and look at it, the area in we'll call it the southwest of Wellesley or western Wellesley village, those lands are all within the countryside line. So we've identified them in this plan since at least 2015 as likely the most prudent place to expand the village should we ever have to expand the village. In this case, we're recommending employment lands. There is, if we go back, maybe if we could put back up the map, that might be easier to explain when the map's up. We just go back to Joe's presentation. We go back to hard to remember the numbers, but just keep going back and maybe we go one more the other way.
Scale is not really awesome.
This one's fine here. So the light purple that we're talking about in southwest Wellesley, like that area is all within the countryside line, with the exception of let's call it the northwest corner there. So the kind of backward L-shaped Tetris looking piece, which today we call the Schneider's rural employment area, right? So that's where K&K is and TNT, the new building, the new dry industrial building back there. That area right now is not within the urban area. It's a rural employment area. And the countryside line doesn't apply to that rural employment area. The countryside line was always meant to delineate